Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a brand most of you probably know, Tupperware. But we're going deeper than those leftovers in your fridge.
Yeah, way beyond.
We're talking about how Tupperware went from a total kitchen revolution to, well, some pretty tough times.
It's a wild ride, for sure.
We're using a video essay called From Kitchen Icon to Bankruptcy, Who Killed Tupperware? So get ready for some nostalgia trips, business lessons, the whole shebang.
It all starts with a concept that might seem, I don't know, kind of quaint now, the Tupperware party.
Oh yeah, those parties, they feel almost mythical now. But back in the post-World War II days, they were huge.
Huge is an understatement. They were a phenomenon.
What was it about those parties, especially for suburban housewives, that made them work so well? Was it all about the products themselves?
It was way more than just the products. You got to think about the context. Post-war boom, families moving to the suburbs, and lots of women at home, maybe feeling kind of isolated.
Right, a whole shift in society.
Exactly. Tupperware parties became this social outlet, a way to connect with other women, learn some kitchen tips, and yeah, buy some durable containers.
So the community aspect was key.
Absolutely. It was brilliant marketing, really.
And you can't talk Tupperware parties without Brownie Wise. She basically built that whole system, right? First woman on the cover of Business Week that's still impressive today.
Brownie Wise was a visionary. She got those parties tapped into something bigger than just food storage, created a whole culture around Tupperware, turned gatherings into events, recognized top sellers. Genius.
But then things changed, right? More women working, shopping habits evolving, and it seems like Tupperware was slow to react.
Yeah, it's fascinating, almost unbelievable how they resisted online sales.
I read they even banned consultants from selling online in the 90s. What was going on there? Just corporate stubbornness.
There's this psychological aspect to it, I think. Tupperware's success was so tied to those parties, to that direct selling, it became part of their identity.
Like their DNA almost.
Right. They saw it as their strength and maybe underestimated how much the world was changing around them.
So they missed the internet boat and were clinging to what worked in the past. Easy to miss those changes when you're on top, I guess.
Exactly. And the ironic thing is, Tupperware was innovating with their products, but not with their approach to the market.
So they became a victim of their own success, stuck in a time warp while consumer habits were speeding ahead.
Precisely. And you know what's interesting? While Tupperware was all about durability, those famous airtight seals, competitors started popping up with a different strategy. Disposables.
Oh, so like Rubbermaid, Gladware, all those.
Yep. Cheaper, convenient, perfect for busy lives. Suddenly, those long-lasting Tupperware products started looking, well, maybe a bit old-fashioned.
Like those sturdy old suitcases versus the wheelie bags we have now. Both have their place, but the market definitely shifted.
Exactly. There's a part in the video essay where a former Tupperware CEO dismisses disposable pens, says he always knows where his good pens are. It just struck me as...
Symbolic.
Yeah, like they were so focused on what had worked that they missed how consumer needs were evolving. Durability wasn't the main thing anymore. It was convenience, affordability, disposability.
And it wasn't just competition from the outside, right? Tupperware went through a lot internally, too. Acquisitions, mergers, even selling off parts of the business.
Yeah, their corporate history is a whirlwind. In 1958, Earl Tupper, the founder, fires Brownie Wise right before selling the company.
Whoa, talk about drama.
Right, and that was just the beginning. They were acquired by Dart Industries, merged with Primark International, spun off again.
It's hard to imagine keeping your focus with that much going on behind the scenes. Did any particular move impact the Tupperware brand itself?
Well, each move had its own ripple effects. For example, being acquired by Dart Industries put them under this giant umbrella with totally different products, from batteries to appliances.
So did Tupperware's unique identity get lost in the shuffle?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something we'll definitely dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned, folks. We're going to unpack how all these factors led to where Tupperware is today. And most importantly, what lessons can we learn from this whole journey? Okay, so we've been tracing Tupperware's path, and things haven't been looking so steady lately, have they?
No, not exactly. They've been facing some serious financial troubles. In fact, in 2024, Tupperware actually filed for bankruptcy.
Whoa, bankruptcy, that's big.
It is, and they reported over $1 billion in liabilities with assets only around $680 million. That's a pretty significant gap.
$1 billion, that's hard to even fathom. What does that actually mean for a company? Is it just about owing money, or is there more to it?
It's definitely not just about the amount, it's the types of debt. And what that says about the company's struggles, we're talking long-term debt, maybe from those acquisitions we talked about, and short-term obligations, too.
Ah, so like to suppliers or other companies they owe money to.
Right, and all of that suggests they've got a cash flow problem, not bringing in enough to cover costs.
So it's not just about selling enough Tupperware, it's a deeper financial strain.
Exactly. It's like a doctor using symptoms to diagnose the underlying illness. Those billion-dollar liabilities, They're pointing to the challenges we've been discussing.
The slow online adaptation, competition from disposables, maybe even the distraction of all those mergers.
Exactly. All those factors playing a role.
Okay, so $1 billion in debt is pretty grim. But it's not game over yet, is it? I read they're searching for a buyer, someone to, I don't know, swoop in and rescue the brand.
It's definitely a tough situation, but not unheard of. Plenty of big brands have faced similar crises and bounced back.
Oh, like who?
Well, remember Marvel Comics, they filed for bankruptcy in the 90s, and Hostess Brands went through something similar a few years ago. Sometimes these drastic moves are a chance to reset.
So less of a death sentence and more of a timeout, a chance to regroup.
Yeah, exactly. Shut some debt, refocus. But the question is, what would that even look like for Tupperware?
Right, what would a successful comeback actually entail?
Well, first they got to tackle those root issues. E-commerce has to be a priority, not an afterthought. Maybe rethinking their products too. Do they need to branch out beyond food storage, new materials, designs? And crucially, they need to figure out their brand identity in today's world.
Yeah, because those classic containers, they come with a lot of baggage, good and bad. They represent a certain time, a way of life.
Right. Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
But could that nostalgia be an asset? People still buy vinyl records, vintage clothing. There's a market for that authentic, well-made, durable feel.
Absolutely. And think about the growing focus on sustainability, moving away from disposables. Tupperware, with its focus on durability and reuse, could tap into that big time.
Yeah, they could be the anti-disposable, the eco-conscious choice, reframing their whole narrative.
Exactly, highlighting what makes them relevant today. But it's a crowded market out there. How do they stand out when everyone's got some kind of food storage container?
That's the million-dollar question.
It's about differentiation, finding that unique angle. Maybe it's partnering with chefs or food influencers, tying Tupperware to healthy eating, or targeting specific niches.
Like eco-conscious millennials or families trying to cut down on waste.
Exactly, making their message resonate.
It sounds like they need to be way more strategic than they've been in the past. Makes you wonder if this is just a Tupperware problem or if other big, older brands are struggling too.
Oh, it's definitely a bigger trend. Think about department stores trying to compete with online giants or traditional media companies in the age of streaming. This digital revolution, plus all those changing consumer habits, it's created a world where anyone can stumble, even the big names.
So Tupperware's story is a cautionary tale, but also maybe a blueprint for how not to handle things. What can other brands learn from this?
I think the biggest takeaway is the danger of complacency. Just because you were successful before doesn't guarantee anything in the future. The market changes constantly, and companies have to keep up.
Like that Red Queen's race in Alice in Wonderland. You got to keep running just to stay in place. But why should we, the consumers, even care about what happens to Tupperware?
That's a great question. On the surface, it might seem like just another business story, but it speaks to something bigger about the choices we make as consumers. Do we value things that are durable, sustainable, even nostalgic? Or are we all about cheap and disposable? Our buying decisions, they send a message.
So it's not just about Tupperware. It's about the kind of marketplace we're all creating.
Exactly. And the Tupperware story is still being written. We'll see if they can pull off a comeback. But regardless, it's a reminder that no brand, however iconic, is immune to change.
That's a great point. I know I'll never look at my Tupperware drawer the same way again. And that's where we'll leave things for now. But stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive. We're going to tackle some even bigger questions about branding, identity, and what happens when a name becomes synonymous with a whole product category. So we've been talking about all these challenges Tupperware faced. And it gets you thinking about something we all see as consumers, those brand names that become so common. They basically replace the actual product name.
Oh, yeah, like, can you hand me a Kleenex instead of a tissue? Or grab the Scotch tape, not cellophane tape.
Exactly. Is that kind of fame good or bad for a brand in the long run?
It's tricky. On one hand, it's like the ultimate recognition. Everyone knows what you're talking about instantly. But,
As Tupperware shows, there's a downside. It's almost like your brand becomes too generic.
right, people start using your name for any product in that category. It blurs the lines.
Makes it harder to stand out, to justify why your product is worth more.
Exactly. And suddenly, those cheaper knockoffs become more tempting for people.
It's like the saying, familiarity breeds. Well, you know the rest. You become so common that people take you for granted.
It's a real challenge for those brands. They have to constantly remind consumers why they're special, not just a generic term.
So can they leverage that name recognition while still protecting their identity? Have the best of both worlds.
It's a tough balancing act. Some brands have gotten really proactive about it, like Band-Aid and Xerox. They're always educating people about how to use their trademarks correctly.
Right, so it's not enough to just plaster your logo everywhere.
Nope. You got to have smart messaging, constantly highlighting what things your brand stand out, emphasize the quality, the innovation, the value you offer.
This whole deep dive has been fascinating. It's wild how a simple plastic container can spark these conversations about business, branding, even psychology.
It shows how powerful brands are, how much they influence our lives. And for us as consumers, it's a reminder to stay informed, understand what's happening in the market, make conscious choices.
Well said. I know I'll never look at my Tupperware the same way again. It's a reminder that behind every product, there's a whole story, a history. And thanks to all of you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Tupperware. We hope you've learned something new, gained a new perspective. And now, if you'll excuse me, all this talk about Tupperware has me wanting to go reorganize my kitchen.
As always, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and comment below. There are also some links in our description that you may find useful. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.